Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village surrounded by lush green fields and towering mountains, there lived a bright young boy named Arav. Arav was known throughout the village for his enthusiasm and ambition. His dreams were as vast as the skies above, but despite his potential, he often struggled with one critical challenge: controlling his mind. Arav's thoughts would frequently wander, drifting away like leaves carried by the wind. Whether it was during his studies, helping his parents, or even playing with his friends, Arav found it difficult to focus on the task at hand. This lack of control over his thoughts began to weigh heavily on him. His schoolwork suffered, and he found himself falling behind his classmates, which only deepened his frustration. One warm afternoon, Arav sat beneath the shade of a large banyan tree near the edge of the village. He gazed at the distant horizon, feeling dejected and lost. His young mind swirled with thoughts of failure and self-doubt. Just then, an old man with a long beard and kind eyes walked by. This was Guruji, a wise and compassionate teacher who was respected by all in the village. Noticing the troubled look on Arav's face, Guruji stopped and approached him. "What troubles you, my child?" Guruji asked in a calm and soothing voice. Arav hesitated at first, but the warmth in Guruji's demeanor encouraged him to speak. He poured out his heart, explaining how his inability to focus was affecting his studies and his life. He confessed how helpless he felt, as if his mind was a wild horse he couldn't tame. Guruji listened patiently, nodding as Arav spoke. When the boy finished, Guruji smiled and said, "Ah, young Arav, the mind is indeed a powerful force. Left uncontrolled, it can lead us astray. But with the right discipline and practice, it can become your greatest ally. Let me tell you a story that might help you understand." Intrigued, Arav leaned closer as Guruji began his tale. Long ago, in a distant kingdom, there lived a legendary archer named Arjun. He was celebrated for his extraordinary skill and precision, his arrows finding their targets with unerring accuracy. People from far and wide came to witness his prowess and sought to learn the secrets of his mastery. One day, a young boy approached Arjun, full of admiration and hope. "Master Arjun," he said, "please teach me the art of archery. I want to be as skilled as you." Moved by the boy's sincerity, Arjun agreed to take him under his wing. As the lessons began, the boy showed great promise. His hands were steady and his aim was decent, but there was one glaring flaw: his mind wandered constantly. Whether it was the rustling leaves, the chirping birds, or the distant chatter of villagers, the boy's focus was always divided. Arjun, being a wise teacher, decided to teach the boy a valuable lesson. One day, he placed a small wooden bird high on a tree branch and issued a challenge. "Your task," Arjun said, "is to hit the eye of that bird. But remember, you must focus only on the bird's eye and nothing else." The boy nodded eagerly and took up his bow. As he raised it, Arjun stopped him and asked, "Tell me, what do you see?" The boy, slightly confused, replied, "I see the bird, the tree, the leaves, the sky, and the mountains beyond." Arjun shook his head and said, "You are not ready. Your mind is scattered like a gust of wind. Unless you can focus solely on the bird's eye, you will never hit your target." The boy tried again, but his mind continued to wander. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't keep his attention fixed on the bird's eye alone. Frustrated, he lowered his bow and said, "Master, I can't do it." Arjun smiled gently and said, "You can, my child, but first you must tame your mind. The mind is like a wild horse. It resists control and seeks freedom. But with patience, practice, and persistence, you can train it to obey your will." The boy took these words to heart. From that day on, he began practicing diligently, not just with his bow, but also with his mind. Arjun introduced him to meditation, teaching him how to quiet his thoughts and anchor his focus. Slowly but surely, the boy's ability to concentrate improved. Months later, Arjun set up the same challenge. This time, when the boy raised his bow, his gaze was unwavering. "What do you see?" Arjun asked. The boy replied confidently, "I see only the bird's eye." With steady hands and a calm mind, the boy released the arrow. It soared through the air and struck the bird's eye with perfect precision. Arjun smiled with pride and said, "You have done well, my student. Remember, the secret to success lies in mastering your mind. Once you do that, nothing is beyond your reach." Guruji paused and looked at Arav with a knowing smile. Arav, like that young archer, you too can master your mind. It won't happen overnight, but with practice, patience, and determination, you will succeed. Begin by practicing mindfulness and meditation. Learn to focus on the present moment and let go of distractions. Tame your thoughts, and they will become your greatest strength. Arav felt a spark of hope ignite within him. Inspired by the story and Guruji's wisdom, he resolved to change. From that day forward, he began practicing mindfulness daily. Slowly but steadily, he learned to quiet his restless mind and focus on his studies. Over time, Arav's efforts bore fruit. His grades improved, his confidence grew, and he became one of the top-performing students in his school. More importantly, he realized the profound truth that the power to control his destiny lay within him. And so, dear reader, whenever you feel your mind wandering, remember the tale of Arav and the young archer. You too have the strength to control your mind and channel it toward achieving your dreams. With focus, patience, and practice, you can overcome any challenge and reach new heights of greatness.